Hello and welcome to the only YouTube channel on the internet. If you're new here, what's up? What's poppin'? Today I'm sharing my very special and cool reaction to the first part of the Dressrosa arc in One Piece. I'm doing a slightly different format than the first couple of reactions that I posted because I felt like I was leaving out a lot of stuff that I wanted to talk about because I was just kind of rambling and ranting without any clear structure to what I was talking about. So this time the video is probably going to be a lot longer, but I'm also like going beat by beat through the story so I can talk about all the different things that I have thoughts on because this story deserves that. There's way too much to talk about for me to just kind of skimp over stuff because I don't think of it in the moment. So anyway, let's just jump right into it because I have a lot that I am dying to talk about right now. First off, Buggy is a warlord? Buggy is a warlord? Dude, oh my god. I laughed so hard when I saw that. On the surface, that is one of the most ridiculous things that has happened in this story so far because we know, as the reader, we know that Buggy is not necessarily all that intimidating as like a person. He's not exactly powerful, and he's sort of just had stuff happen to him, and he's just kind of taken advantage of the circumstances that he's in. But on the other hand, it kind of makes sense from like the world government point of view. He broke out of Impel Down. He has a whole like army of prisoners who were also in Impel Down who worship him. It kind of makes sense for him to be a warlord. I mean, that is a lot of firepower at your back, even if you yourself are not necessarily all that scary. And it's just crazy to me that this character who should have, by all rights, just been like this throwaway character that's like one of the first villains that we encounter, by all rights, should never have even come back. In most stories, he never would have. He would have been gone. Because when I read Buggy's part the first time, it's like there's no reason to think that he would ever return, let alone become one of the most important, like, central characters in this story. I love it, though. I love everything about where his character is heading. After the events of Impel Down and Marineford, every time he shows up or he's, like, mentioned, I'm super happy because he's just great. The way that he's come back and the writing for his character has drastically improved from the beginning. And dude, him becoming a warlord is one of my favorite things that has happened in One Piece so far because it is so ridiculous and so out there, and it just encapsulates so much of what I love about Oda, where he can make these throwaway side characters that shouldn't be important, and he can make you care about them or make you want more of them in the story. And Buggy is the apex of all of that. This arc picks up very quickly as it is sort of directly being bled into from Punk Hazard. There's not a lot that they need to set up for the characters to get onto the island and to sort of just start experiencing things and seeing things. And the introduction to Dressrosa is phenomenal. The way that everything is set up at the beginning of this story is crazy because Oda is just constantly throwing stuff at you at the beginning of this arc. In the first like 8 chapters, there are countless characters that are just dumped on you, and so many plot lines that are kind of just set up immediately with really no hesitation in terms of just kind of here's a thing, here's a thing, here's a thing, and you, at this point in the story, you know to just trust Oda and be like, he is going to make all of this make sense, he's going to make you care about these things, and he's going to explain them in a way that makes sense. And that is a great thing to have at this point in the story, is that level of trust. In another story, introducing this much stuff would feel very overwhelming, and while it can be slightly overwhelming with One Piece, I just know for a fact, I know that he knows what he's doing, and that he's gonna make all this weave together in a way that is wonderful. And of course, he does that, and I'm only 31 chapters in, and he's already making everything sort of come together in this way that is incredibly well done. But I want to go beat by beat, like I was saying. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So the first thing that we're truly introduced to in Dressrosa, apart from this strange like allure that it has, it kind of draws people in, is that there are toys that are alive on this island and kind of just walking around, meandering around, and nobody is questioning it at all. And at first, I didn't really know what to make of this. I was like, is this just like an Oda-ism? Is this just like this quirk that he's throwing onto this island? Because the toys are very unassuming. It's just kind of like, oh, that's kind of goofy and silly that toys are alive. Apparently, Oda really liked Toy Story. And I love the blend of cultures that Oda is pulling from in just the structure or the architecture of Dressrosa, where, there's Spanish influence, which he directly talks about in one of the SBS corners, and he also talks about how there's Roman influences, with the Colosseum and everything. It's a really cool blend of cultures, and it makes sense for it to be Spain also because Doflamingo is Don Quixote. Doflamingo and Don Quixote is from, Spanish history, in literature, and I think that's a really unique choice. And just the way that Dressrosa looks in that aspect, all the way the buildings look is just really fun to look at. And there's a lot of just life kind of and vibrance everywhere that you go in this country. And as I was just talking about, as this world is sort of being fed to us through the plotline, all the characters are immediately kind of tossed into their own little side stories almost immediately. One group is staying on the boat, another group is going to Greenbit to drop off Caesar, another group is going to destroy the factory. The group that goes to destroy the factory immediately is split up because Zoro chases after his sword after it gets stolen. Luffy decides he's gonna go compete in this Gladiator tournament, and like everyone just kind of gets thrown into their own little plot line immediately. And it's a really, like I said, there's a lot already going on, and then you have that happen, and it's just like, okay, the Straw Hats are already separated, we're getting all this new information. It's a lot to happen in the first literally 8 or 9 chapters. And speaking of the characters and the way things look, I love the costumes that everyone has for this arc. They're all pretty goofy and silly, apart from, Nami and Robin, who are literally just at this point they're just fan service. I don't even know what's going on with them right now. That's something I'll talk about later, but it's goofy to have Luffy in a beard and a helmet the entire time, and Zoro has a mustache, and Frankie's hair is in pigtails. It's really funny the way that they all look, and it's just adds to the quirkiness of the setup of this arc. But as I said, we get introduced to a ton of characters at the beginning. There's the blind guy at the bar, and then there's all the different gladiators that Luffy is gonna have to fight, and they all have names and factions that they come from and unique powers, and there's so many of them competing, and they're all named, which is part of what threw me off at the beginning. I was like, that's a lot of characters for me to try and remember. But of course, Oda does it in a way that by the time even where I'm at now, 30 chapters in, I have a general idea of who all these people are. And there's even more characters apart from the gladiators. But I thought he was just, at least from what I was pulling from it, was especially during that whole gladiator part where he's introducing all these characters, it felt like he was just having so much fun. He had all these ideas bottled up, and he was just like, I'm just gonna go hard, I'm gonna throw all of them out there. And it felt to me like Oda was having a ton of fun bringing all these characters in, because he clearly had a lot of ideas for powers and character designs, and that's always, it's always fun to witness when Oda is just having a ball with that kind of stuff. Because there's the guy with the jacket fruit, which is one of the funniest fruits that we've seen so far, because it's kind of useless, as a fight. I mean, the guy found a way to use it because his brother's body is really big, but in a one-on-one fight, it is the most useless power ever, and it's so goofy, and it's how would you make that work if you actually wanted to be powerful with the jacket fruit? What do you do? Go to a party and put yourself in coat service and hope that someone really strong accidentally picks you up or something? I don't know. It's just goofy. I loved that. I loved the king who has a super strong punch that can break, castle walls. And then there's obviously Bartolomeo, who I'm going to talk about later, but he has I forget exactly what it's called, but he essentially can create a force field around himself. I forgot what the name of his fruit is. Then, of course, there's, headbutt guy, Conehead, Pinhead Larry. He headbutts things. That's his power. I know I said I was going to go in order, but I feel like I can't. I want to talk about all these characters. That guy, headbutt guy, he has this grudge against Luffy where he's like, oh, Garp took everything from me and I cursed his bloodline for 2 generations, so I have to kill you too. And then they fight, and their fight is awesome with all the hockey they're throwing around. They both have the Supreme King's hockey, and they're just going hard, and everyone's shocked by their fight. I have to say, the choreography for that fight was awesome. The paneling for that whole sequence was really cool. I loved the way that they were fighting. I never expected their fight to be that interesting because it seemed like Luffy was way stronger than all the other opponents, and then that guy and him actually had a pretty cool interaction there. And then Luffy ends up punching his head so hard that his the conal shape comes back out of his head. Oh my god, I totally forgot to talk about this. Bellamy is back. Bellamy the hyena. I didn't think I was ever going to see him again. He mentions that he was in Skypiea, and he said something about a gold pillar that he got, and I totally forgot about the little bit in Skypiea at the very end when they're like leaving Sky Island, and all the Sky people are like, oh, we're gonna give you this gold pillar for helping us out, and the Straw Hats are like, no, we don't want that. They think they're coming for them or whatever because they're pirates. And Bellamy apparently got his hands on that, which I thought was a little unique, detail that was thrown in there. That again, I totally would have forgotten about that, but Oda again, too good at remembering the small details. He's too smart. There's also someone from the Blackbeard Pirates here, which is super interesting, and later on he ends up calling Blackbeard as Luffy is leaving the Coliseum, and they have a short little conversation, which I gotta say I'm super excited for because Blackbeard is one of my favorite characters in the series so far, just due to the nature of his beliefs, and the way that he's pulled things off is so interesting, and I want more of that character. So to have that just like brief 2-page interaction between Luffy and Blackbeard got me really excited. I'm hoping we'll see more of Blackbeard soon. But he's not the villain I want to talk about the most. The most I want to talk about is Doflamingo. I'm again getting off track, but now that I'm thinking about Doflamingo, man, I gotta talk about him more. Doflamingo is so Machiavellian. The way that he talks, every time he opens his mouth, I am so captured by what he's saying. Everything that he says is so interesting and so like forceful and like charismatic, or not charismatic, I guess I don't know a word I'm looking for, like enigmatic. He's very he's scary. He's like a scary guy who has a lot of beliefs that are just very chaotic, and it's all encapsulated in the speech he gives back in Marineford, which is an incredible speech. And actually, I feel like I've gotten a lot of context to what he was talking about there, because in that speech, he's talking about how the victors write history. And they're like, oh, who do you think is going to be justice? I can't remember exactly what the context is, but he says, justice will be whatever the victors decide it is. Whoever wins here will decide what history is. And he himself has done that here on Dressrosa. Again, I'm getting way ahead of myself, but he's sort of rewritten the history of Dressrosa to fit the narrative of what he wants the people to think. So that gives a lot of context to what he was talking about in that situation, not just in the grand scheme of things, but within his own country that he runs. He has done that, and he holds this belief that like power and strength decides what history is and decides what the people believe about the world. And that's further explored in the themes here where, God, I'm getting so far ahead of myself, but now that I'm on a roll, I got to keep going. I love that with the toys and even within the Coliseum, that once he decides, they have a really cool little speech. I think it's a toy soldier talking about it, where the strong and the victors, they live up top. They have normal lives and they're happy because they're the victors. The losers literally get thrown in the trash, quite literally get thrown in a dump, and they get turned into toys, and the losers are underfoot. And that fits everything that I have learned about Doflamingo up until this point, in the way that he believes the world to be and the things that he wants to enforce upon the world. And since I'm going fully off the tracks talking about Doflamingo, let me talk about another thing that I really want to note about just him as a character existing in this story. He's been built up for a long time. I think the first time he was introduced was like back right after Skypiea. I might be wrong about that. I think that's when it was. He's been around for a while, and we've seen him a lot, but he hasn't really done much yet. He's just sort of been shown, and like, a little bit about him. He's very mysterious and like scary, but he's not really done a whole lot yet. So it feels like Oda has just been holding on to this character for a long time. And now that it's like his turn to be the main villain, man, as I said, like when I was talking about all the other characters that are introduced, it feels like Oda is just having so much fun writing him. Every time he shows up, it is the craziest scene, and so much shit is happening every time he's on the page. and it just feels like a flood of ideas and craziness is just like flowing out of Oda, and I love it. It makes me enjoy Doflamingo's presence even more. Okay, now I need to take a couple steps back because there's a couple things I just mentioned that I don't want to just completely skip over. Bellamy is back, as I said, and he has, he went to Skypiea. He's gone through some stuff. He's changed a little bit, and while he's still not a great person right now, I can kind of see the redemption arc forming up, where after Luffy cheered him on in the Gladiator in the Coliseum, he is now, you can tell, he's getting some empathy. He's starting to like question his place within the Doflamingo family, especially since Doflamingo himself is sort of betraying him. I can see the seeds. I'm beginning to care about Bellamy, which, like Buggy, dude, I never thought I was gonna care about this character. And Oda is just, he's too good at this shit, man. He's too good at it. Bellamy the hyena, this random fucking character who is just a jackass in Jaya. Why do I care about him now? Like, come on. So anyway, yeah, I really enjoyed that little mini Coliseum arc that's still ongoing, but I need to talk about where the rest of the crew members are at and what's going on outside of all that, because there's a lot going on. So my man Sanji, he's in love. He's met the love of his life, someone who reciprocates his feelings, and it has been such a funny little side arc going on here with him and Violet, who we find out later is one of the princesses of the kingdom, former princesses of the kingdom, I guess. And initially she was gonna like turn him in, and he believed her anyway, even though she betrayed him, even though she turned on him. He said, "I will never not believe a woman's tears," and it touches Violet to her soul. I gotta say, man, Sanji's he's been getting a lot more focus these past couple arcs. I feel like Oda is having a lot of fun with Sanji, as with, a lot of other stuff going on. He's giving Sanji not only a lot of like running gags, a lot more attention, just him as a character. I feel like he's getting a lot of time. I'm just gonna go ahead and blaze ahead with Sanji, actually, because now that I'm thinking of one of my favorite moments so far, I'm gonna skip way ahead. I'm gonna go back and talk about Violet in a second, but skipping way ahead, when Doflamingo is so far ahead, but when Doflamingo is like bearing down on the Sunny with, a defenseless Chopper and Nami and Brook, and Sanji comes dashing out of the sky and like kicks him midair. Oh, dude, that was probably so far in Dressrosa the most hype moment. That was so awesome. Sanji challenging one of the most powerful warlords on the fucking planet, no hesitation, and the way that it's set up, where there was just like this panel of the sky, and then you see like this little blur, and then like in the reflection of Doflamingo's glasses, you see flames, and then Sanji says something along the lines of, "When my crew is crying, that's a good sign for you to get the hell away." And then he kicks him. Oh my god, that was hype. So hype. And then Doflamingo was like, a strong one, finally. Dude, oh my god. When Sanji has those moments, man, they hit so hard. I can still remember all of them so vividly. Back in Skypiea, he had the "I needed a light" moment after Eneru blasted him with lightning. Dude, every like badass Sanji moment is just, I don't know what it is. It just has the secret sauce. Every time I like stand up and I'm like, "Yes, Sanji!" I don't know what it is. That moment was great. I loved that moment with him dashing in to kick Doflamingo. But I'm gonna backtrack, as I just said. Oh my god, there's too much to talk about. Violet is a super interesting character because she's so unassuming at first, and she tricks Sanji because they've been tracking the Straw Hats ever since they got onto the island. Because obviously Doflamingo, he was kind of pulling a fast one on them, which, god damn it, I forgot to talk about other stuff with Doflamingo. I'm gonna get there. But Violet is super interesting because, for one, her power is just really cool. Though it's like not the clear fruit. That's fucking dude in Thriller Bark. But it's like I don't remember what it's called. It's like the CC fruit or something. I don't know. But she can like hold her finger up and like show people what's happening. It's a very, very unique, interesting power where she's just like this all-seeing person, and she can like share that power with other people. And the way that Oda drew it was really cool in the manga, just like the way it looked. So I really think her power is interesting, and I think her position is really sad that she's, forced to work for Doflamingo because her family literally, you know, is under his thumb, and she clearly doesn't want to do it. She's clearly being forced, and all it took was Chad Lad Sanji's belief in her pain for her to become a changed woman, which I'm definitely invested in their like little relationship here. I don't know if anything's gonna come of it, but I was definitely it pulled in by that. Before I get too carried away, I'm gonna backtrack one last time, and I'm gonna talk about the group that went to Greenbit, because that's probably the best part of the story so far in Dressrosa for me, is what they were all doing. So when they get to Greenbit after crossing the most dangerous bridge ever, they get there and they split apart because Law is just taking Caesar to the drop-off point, and then Robin and Usopp, they're in the forest and they get captured by the little people, I forgot what they're called. Tanatan? That's totally wrong probably, but it's something like that. And this is one of the places that I'm a little frustrated because I know that Oda can write women really well. He's done it in the past. But what is this, man? I get it. The fan service has always sort of been a thing, but like, come on. And then you have Nami, who's just like basically in a bikini for this one. And like all they've done since the time skip, the two women, they haven't really done a whole lot in terms of like fighting or like having agency. It just feels like they're there to be cleavage, which is like slightly frustrating because these are characters that I care about and that have had development, but they haven't really done much. And like, it's not, the reason I'm saying this panel in particular is that this is one of the few times in a long time that we've had Robin in any kind of situation on her own. And it's just like, I don't know. I don't know what it is that's bothering me so much about it. It's just like, it feels like they've been reduced to just fan service now. And maybe I'm alone in thinking that, but I know he can write them super well. So it's like a little frustrating. In this panel, it's not like it's worse than anything else he's done so far. It just was like, I felt like he was building up this little side plot to be more than it was. And then you get this, Robin is just in a skimpy skirt, and then we just kind of move on from that, and we almost didn't even need this. Like, we didn't need this little part here with her waking up. We could have just gone to Usopp, who is actually the more important figure here with the little people, because he's led them to believe that he's like this hero who has incredible hockey that shakes the earth, which is hilarious. So enough about the issue I have with the women right now. I love this little thing with the little people. Their little kingdom underneath the island is adorable. I love it. I love the little airport that they have. I love that they use W's instead of R's. They like sound like children. And it's kind of jarring because they're this, adorable little kingdom of small people, but they have like a really dark past, and they have like a really dark situation on their hands in that, they used to be slaves way back when, and then they were saved by the king that came in and made reparations and gave them this new status within the nation. And then Doflamingo came back, and now they have 500 of their people again as slaves, and they're mounting this revolution to like take down the kingdom, which is like a super dark storyline within this like cutesy little kingdom, which is, Oda is so good at that kind of stuff of having dramatic storylines centered around something that should be super goofy. And this is, again, I feel like this is an arc that really captures a lot of what Oda is the best at in terms of showing that goofy, silly little side of him and tying it in so well to the drama of the story in a way that is effective and that makes sense. And while I'm on the topic of the little people, a little person is actually one of the people that takes Zoro's sword, and Zoro's chasing after this fairy, this little person, and he gets the sword back, and then he's trying to get, it's so funny. His storyline is hilarious so far, in that he's trying to get back to the Sunny because he knows his friends are in danger, and he can't figure out how to get there. He's so bad at directions, man. That ongoing joke about Zoro being directionally challenged is always funny 100% of the time. That's the funniest running bit in One Piece, and I love it. Another really funny thing about Zoro's storyline so far is that when he finds out Luffy is competing in this gladiator competition, he's not upset that, like, Luffy went off on his own. He's not upset that everything's crumbling around them. Their whole plan has sort of fallen apart. All he's really upset about is that Luffy didn't invite him to compete in the tournament. He's actually genuinely upset about it. He's like, man, I thought we were friends. Why didn't you invite me? It's so funny. It's such a funny, like, everyone else is like panicking. The world is, they're finding out that there's all this dark stuff going on, and Zoro was like, God damn it, I didn't get to compete in this tournament. Man, I said I was gonna do chronological order to not skip over things, and I've already skipped over a lot, so I'm gonna calm down. I'm too excited. This arc is just fantastic so far, and I keep getting carried away, but I'm gonna go back before I get to the encounter between Law and Fujitora and Doflamingo. I'm gonna backtrack. There's a couple of details that I skipped over. Number one, where Luffy is when he meets Rebecca for the first time, and they're standing in front of that statue of a gladiator that nobody can remember. I actually didn't make this connection in my head. I listened to a podcast that someone pointed this out. Now I know why that no one can remember who that gladiator was. Clearly, he was turned into a toy, because the people who are turned into toys, everyone forgets that they existed. It's just kind of erased from their memory. And I did not put that together. I'm wondering if we'll ever meet the toy that is that gladiator, because the fact that he has a statue and that he was like known as this great warrior, I'm wondering if he'll come back. I also said I was going to talk about Bartolomeo, and then I totally forgot about him, but he has also been one of my favorite parts of this arc so far, where when you meet him, he doesn't give a fuck. He is so like, he walks out and he's flipping off the crowd, and he starts pissing in the middle of the fight, and he's just kind of standing there. And I remember the name of his fruit. It's the barrier fruit, and he's just like this. He's just this, he doesn't give a shit about anything that's going on. And when they introduce him, they're like, oh yeah, he roasted people alive. He eats pirates. He shoots innocent people. So you think that he's gonna be like this, evil, despicable villain guy. But then he's just a Luffy simp, and he's just this giant fanboy who is like sobbing at the idea of just seeing Luffy, and he's just losing his mind. He's this enormous fanboy. That was the last thing I expected to come out of his character, and it's so funny. It's just like, it feels like an insert of like just all the fans in One Piece is just like, that's how we would react if we saw any of these characters in real life. So it's very funny to me, the way that he was introduced versus as soon as he hears about Luffy being there, he completely switches up, total 180. And now I kind of like him. Now like, this guy's kind of wholesome in his own weird way. Another really funny thing about that character is when he's talking about his admiration for Luffy. He's like, I was just a mere criminal overlord. I only had 154 towns under my direct control, and then I saw Luffy with like his 10 crew members. It's just like, what? So anyway, let me go back to Greenbit again, and I'm gonna start getting really excited again, because this part was awesome, where Law is on the beach with Caesar, and all of those people converge on him. Doflamingo, Fujitora, he's standing there realizing, holy shit, everything is going wrong, and all three of them fighting, awesome, where there's the meteors coming out of the sky, and they all, cut it up or like redirect it in their own way, and they're standing on like these pillars of land. Awesome. It was awesome. And Law, this whole like first 30 chapters, he's just kind of getting beat up this entire time. He's just getting the shit beat out of him, because he is facing overwhelming odds, here. No matter how strong he is, you cannot really hope to hold out against an admiral and a warlord on your own. And despite Law having an amazing power, he was getting kind of just tossed around for the most part. This is also where some of Doflamingo's best like little monologues come in, where he's talking about himself when he tells him that he's a celestial dragon, which was a huge twist, and it makes so much sense. It gives so much context to a lot of stuff that he's done already in the story, and it also explains why the world government is willing to help him in this scenario. And it makes me so much more curious about the celestial dragons, because he talks a little bit about their history and how, when they all converged to the world government, these countries then needed kings to replace who they were. So like, I just, so much about the celestial dragons and the world government, this just adds to the mystery of it. Like, Doflamingo is clearly, he's a pirate. He's this already super powerful person. He is, everything the world government hates in other pirates. They despise other pirates that do precisely what Doflamingo is doing, but they're supporting him simply because he is a celestial dragon. And I just want to know why. I want to know why, man. I want to know more about that whole situation. Like, why are the celestial dragons protected so much? And like, I've had that question ever since Sabaody, but now it's just like this further elaborates on that curiosity here. Another really interesting thing that is talked about in this little interaction between Law and Doflamingo is like, why do you trust Straw Hat? Like, why did you make an alliance with him? I know you just want to take me down. Why do you think he's going to hold up, his end of the bargain? Why Straw Hat? Why are you going with him? And Law responds, the D will always cause another storm. I really hope that the mention of D, the fact that Law said that, means that we will finally be learning what the will of D is. I want to know. That is something that has been set up since Alabasta. I want to know what the will of D is. I am desperate for answers. That is one of the longest running mysteries. We knew about that before we knew about the Void Century. I want more. Please, Law, tell me what the will of D is. The fact that Robin knows it and still hasn't explained shit. I want to know, dude. And that comment there clearly means something. So I'm fingers crossed. I am fingers crossed so tight that we finally learn what that is, or we learn at least a little bit more about that. That comment there is clearly something important. God, dude, I want to know. But anyway, Law manages to kind of kick things into motion, playing 8D chess with hearts yet again, and he barely pulls it off. He barely pulls it off so that he leaves everything in the Straw Hat's hands, which is, God, he's such a great character that he's someone that we just met, but he already has that level of trust for these people. He's got a very good nose for what people's moral compasses are and the kind of people that they are, and because he trusts the Straw Hat so much, and obviously we know that, but like, he just met them and he already has that trust. And it's very inspiring for them that this guy trusts them so much, and it sort of spurns them into action. Like, we have to get this done. He's believing in us. He is putting his trust into us. And that is a very strong motivator, especially for this group of people. There's also a couple of other giant things that happen right at the end of this arc. Number one, Big Mom is here now? What? What is she doing here? I don't know if she's necessarily like on one of the ships, but the ships are there. The ships are coming. And why? I don't know what's happening right now. And they're just like, there's already so many factions at place here. You've got the Tontada. You've got the Toys. You've got the all the different kingdoms that are, working there that are no King Riku. There's King Riku, who is still alive. There's Doflamingo and all his people. There's the Straw Hats. And now we have Big Mom coming in. And it's just like so many factions are in play, and they're all kind of mixing together, and then we get yet another faction introduced here at the very end, and this is the big thing I've been holding back. It's been taking a lot of self-control to not just talk about this as the first thing. There were 3 cups! There were 3 cups! On Ace's grave! Sabo is alive! I didn't actually see his face yet, but I know he's there. I know he's there. And that is so awesome. The way that it's been set up, I don't even necessarily care about the character all that much. I mean, he had the one flashback. I'm not like personally attached to him all that much, but the setup, the way that everything played out, just like the little 3 panels in a row where it zooms in on Luffy's face, and then you get the Enel face, panel, the way that it's all been set up, and then the fact that there's the 3 cups there, and you can literally go back and see that there were 3 cups there, and this character who you thought was dead this whole time is alive. Oh, what an amazing setup and payoff there with the way that it was pulled off in just that single chapter. And once it hits you, once you realize what the implications of 3 cups means, dude, and then it brings in yet another faction, because just this one page where they're talking about the Revolutionary Army. The Revolutionary Army is now at play. There's, again, so many factions, because now we're tossing them in. And this is another thing that I didn't actually put together at first, is that the girl that clearly Sabo, is talking to, like, through the transponder snail, is the girl from the Fisher Tiger flashback. The girl that he saved that was like a slave and then returned to her hometown. She is now also part of the Revolutionary Army. I probably would not have put that together without the podcast. So I just, like, the name just did not register with me. It was a flashback that we just barely saw. I can't believe she's there. And now her and Sabo know each other. And it's just like this crazy, like, all these small little things that have just been, like, lightly and delicately placed in there have come together. Oda is too good, dude. He's too good, man. And it actually makes a lot of sense for Sabo to be in the Revolutionary Army, because the whole flashback with Luffy's past, the Revolutionary Army is the people who come in and are trying to save citizens who are being burned alive in this city. They are the ones that come in there and try and make a difference. So it makes sense to me that Sabo would join up with them, because he himself was basically eradicated by the world government. It makes sense for him to have that grudge and then to look to something like the Revolutionary Army, who were the only people trying to help at that time. And I can't wait to find out what he's been up to ever since then, and the fact that he clearly has been tracking Luffy's story this whole time. And I really hope we learn more about the Revolutionary Army itself, because they are yet another large mystery within this whole thing. What exactly is their goal? What exactly are they doing? And are we going to learn more about Dragon soon? Because he's, yet again, another enormous mystery. There is so much shrouded in just, like, we don't know what's going on with them and with the Celestial Dragons, and they're all sort of converging on this one island. This is why I have my fingers crossed that we're going to start learning more about them in this arc specifically. I could be wrong, but it just feels like the perfect time with all these forces coming to a head in one spot right now. I hope, man. I hope. I'm so curious. These are the things that make me excited about One Piece, and don't tell me if I'm right, but I want to be right. Anyway, I think I hit everything I want to talk about. I went as chronologically as I could. I'm sure I missed a couple of things, but this feels like I touched on a lot more of the things I want to talk about as compared to my other reactions. This was still a little bit all off the rails, I feel like, but let me know if you enjoyed this format of me talking about things better, because I feel like I can talk about a lot more this way, and I'm not forgetting as many things. But it is a bit long-winded, and I feel like I still do have a tendency to just ramble about shit. I don't know if this is any better or not, so let me know if you enjoy this better, or the shorter form ones where I'm kind of just giving general thoughts about the arc as a whole, because I am cool with either one. I enjoy talking about One Piece in any way, shape, or form. Expect 2 more parts for Dressrosa. There's just so much going on. I don't feel like I can fit everything into just 2 episodes, which is what I said I was going to do in Punk Hazard. So I expect 2 more videos on this, at least, because there's just so much going on. And it really hit me this arc just how much I am appreciative that I get to experience this story as just like one whole, because I was sitting there thinking between chapters at one point, I was like, I can't imagine having to wait a week to read the next thing that's gonna happen, just like over and over. It's hard for me to wrap my head around. I know I'm not too far from that being my reality, but I'm really grateful that I get to just like experience this as one fluid, flowing story without really having to like stop and wait for the next thing to come out. And it really hit me this week that's my reality, and that I waited this long. I'm kind of glad that the story is coming to me now, because there's just so much that I could have been waiting for, and I get to just kind of experience this as one giant experience, or as one, giant story without chunks, I guess. So anyway, I will see you guys next time. And until then, I hope you're staying happy and healthy, and I hope you're taking care of yourself. Goodbye.